This is Riker Rider, and I believe this will be my last lesson for now. I'm going to be covering the basics of playing under high gravity conditions, and no, I don't want to view a replay. Okay, here we go. Let's just set the gravity back to the way I had it. There we go. Okay. The thing about high gravity play is that the freedom in movement, because of the high gravity, you don't get to experience as much freedom of movement. So your options are limited by how well you stack, and that's very important, especially in these kinds of conditions, to keep your stack as flat as possible. Notice how under a high gravity situation such as this, the pieces fall to the floor of the well almost immediately. Well, technically it is immediately. So this greatly limits what you can do with the pieces. For instance, under a low gravity situation, I may want to put this L over on the left side of the stack, but I can't do that because of the high gravity. So this makes it very important to stack all your pieces in a completely different way than you would under ordinary conditions. This is the reason why I suggested keeping a flat stack, because this will play well into when you start getting into 20G play. Notice how I'm keeping everything flat. Another thing that you'll want to do when you're playing in 20G is to try to keep the middle of your stack higher than the rest. That way you can have the what is it? You can have pieces going either way. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when you don't stack when you stack all your high pieces to one side, and don't stack using the middle. See, what if I wanted to put that piece over on the side? I can't because the pieces start to fall in the middle. The key column to stacking in 20G is column 5. If column 5 is your highest column, you can put any piece wherever you want. The reason why is because every piece except the eye is able to rotate freely on the 5th column, and even the eye will spawn directly on top of the 5th column, so you can rotate it. Well, not rotate it, but you'll have a chance to put it in the place that you feel is appropriate. And the other thing about 20G is it's often accompanied by very fast lock delays and just very low delays in general, so you'll have very little time to think on where to put the piece. This is another reason why I stress that watching the next piece is very important. Another thing that TGM does that's really nice is it plays a sound effect for each individual next piece that comes. Each of the 7 pieces has a distinct sound effect. If you can memorize those effects, then you'll have another cue as to what piece is coming. In high gravity situations, by the time you drop pieces, by the time you drop a piece, you should already know where you're going to put your next piece. This is very important, especially if you're playing in ARS, because ARS is has a lot more restrictions than SRS on where you can put your pieces. And for the record, I am terrible with ARS, so don't ask me any tips on how to rotate pieces. There are plenty of guides out there that teach you how to play with ARS if you want to know. But most of the tips that apply to ARS also apply to SRS. Okay, the most important thing when stacking in 20G is the rule of 2. This can also apply in general, but it's particularly relevant if you're playing in 20G. You won't want to have an adjacent column that's more than 3 high from another. The reason why is because if you stack 3 high on both sides of any one column, the only piece that you can put in there is the eye. And if you put it in a weird spot, like say, well, it's hard to do in 20G, but if you stack weirdly in 20G, you can actually put yourself in a pretty bad position. And that's another, what I was trying to do there is demonstrate another thing about 20G. It just shows you how limited the motion is for pieces when gravity is set to instantaneous. One thing that I would do is if you can, using like a YouTube downloader, download one of my videos where I'm playing like Shirase mode or just like the second half of Master mode and watch it in slow motion, so that you can take time to see my reasons for where I put my pieces everywhere. I think that'll about do it. If you have any more questions or you want to see any other topics covered, just ask and I'll put something up.